and we've got the support of Jeremy. I give you Jeremy Corbyn.
Thank you for being here. I hope we haven't kept you waiting too long. But this is the 5th borough we've been to today, I think. We're going all over London. Fantastic activity, fantastic support and fantastic reception. And why? Because the election's next Thursday. Yes, they're about winning Wandsworth for Labour. Get that?
Yeah!
But it's also about putting this government on notice. Putting this government on notice. 8 years of austerity. 8 years rising homelessness. 8 years falling wages. 8 years children living in poverty. 8 years underfunded schools. 8 years no council house building. 8 years of waste and a growth of inequality in our society. We cannot go on like this. We cannot go on impoverishing the poorest and enriching the richest and not think there's going to be some consequences from that. And that's what our campaign is about. And so we've launched in the past couple of weeks, 3 weeks or so, 2 very important policy documents. And I want you all to contribute to them. The first is the National Education Service.
Yes.
The 1945 Labour government built an NHS, a National Health Service. Healthcare as a human right, free at the point of need for everybody. The legacy of the next Labour government is going to be a National Education Service. Education as a human right for all of their lives. So we will raise tax at the top in order that students don't have to pay fees, and adult education is also going to be free. And there's lots more in that document that I would like you to comment on as well. One I'm very proud of is a pupil arts premium, that every child in every school gets to learn a musical instrument. And much more besides, including nursery education. The other big policy document we launched last week was the housing strategy. We launched it at the Local Government Association. This country, A, doesn't build enough houses, B, doesn't do anything about the most vulnerable homeless people in our society, and has allowed the private rented sector to rip and prevented councils doing what they ought to be doing. So you have insult upon insult all across the country. I'll give you just one example. Council Estate alongside the Welsh Harp Reservoir in Barnet. Beautiful place, beautiful reservoir, lovely place. What do Barnet Tories do? Sell the estate, allow a luxury block to be built overlooking the Welsh Harp Reservoir, move the tenants away into private rented accommodation, in some cases out of London, and the flats, the luxury flats being built, all sold off plan, 3/4 of them are empty as property investments. Doesn't that say everything about the problems in London? Children growing up in overcrowded, damp, expensive, private rented accommodation don't do well in school, don't get to college, don't go to university, don't achieve their full potential. So we'll do things very, very differently. We will build 1 million homes over 10 years, 500,000 of which will be for social rent. And we will redefine affordable rent as affordable for the area you live in based on the average wages of that area. No more calling £400,000 flats affordable. So that's going to be the plan. The priority would be immediately to deal with rough sleeping and the homeless. One of the most interesting meetings I had last year was an afternoon I spent with rough sleeping homeless people. I spent the whole afternoon talking to them and listening to what they had to say. They were decent, well-informed, intelligent people. Things had happened in their lives. Things had gone wrong. And they'd ended up rough sleeping. They'd ended up begging day after day in order to get 15 quid together to go to a night shelter. They have a life to lead. Things have gone wrong in their lives. What a human waste. Surely as a country we can do a bit better than walking by on the other side while they starve on the streets.
Yes!
And so we will do many things very, very differently. And the last thing I'd say before I urge you to do something for Wandsworth is this. the Windrush generation scandal has showed us everything there is to be seen about this Tory government. They knew full well from several years back that the Windrush scandal was going to happen. They were warned in terms by Labour MPs. Myself, for example, John McDonnell and Diane Abbott. Diane asked Theresa May as Home Secretary specifically what she was going to do about the Windrush scandal. And she said, there isn't one, there's no problem.
Shame.
Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. You know how nothing has changed. And then it gets worse and worse. And from the bravery of those who are suffering and the trauma they're going through, eventually the case has come full circle and the government's forced to apologise, admit, and now offer compensation. Well, I simply say this to Theresa May: you compensate for their housing, you compensate for their loss of jobs, you compensate for their stress and their trauma, and you do a bit more than just apologising. You fess up to what you didn't do when you were told there was a problem that had to be dealt with. And then we had Amber Rudd today saying, well, there were no targets for removal of people in this country. They were only on posters in every borders agency office all over the whole country. But apparently she didn't know about that. Well, I invited her yesterday to consider other career options. Are you with me on that? So we do this because that generation of people came to this country to contribute to our society. My life, our lives, our living standards, our schools, our hospitals, our trains, our factories, our universities are all made what they are by people who came to this country to contribute to it. You do not treat people like that. And so we will defend the Windrush generation as we will defend all the others. This week has exposed what the Tories are about. Now, they might be attacking us and they might be personally abusive about us. Never reply. I don't care. That's not the point. The point is we know what we are. We know what we are as a party. And so, in the elections next Thursday all across London, we're fighting flat out in every single London borough. We're fighting flat out to defeat the Tories and elect Labour councils. And in electing Labour councils, we demonstrate the public opposition to austerity, we demonstrate our determination of councils that work for all, that we support those that are waiting for social care, we demand better funding for the hospitals. And Wandsworth Labour got to win in Putney as well as holding Tooting and Battersea. Yes. Marsha's victory was absolutely brilliant. Winning this borough would be absolutely brilliant. So I will say no more, except the doorsteps are waiting. Go there, talk to and listen to the people, get them out next Thursday, get them to join the party, because we're now well over 500,000 members, growing all the time, because people want change and we will deliver that change. Thank you.